शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये दक्षिणामूर्तिसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गणपति बप्पा जय श्री राम। So last time we had reached to a position where Sugriva and Rama have befriended themselves. It is called as a Sugriva Rama Sakhya, which means they have now become friends, and they have also ensured that it is formalized. So how did they formalize? They did an Agni Pradakshina, like we do in marriages. They did an Agni Pradakshina with Agni as a Sakshi, which means as a witness. They perform a rite through which they forge, they make their friendship formal, right? We did cover as to why Agni, why do we do anything in presence of Agni? It's because Agni has the ability to stand as a witness, okay? At least in the first 3 yugas, Agni had the ability to stand as a witness. So if somebody is alleged of breaking a pact, suppose one party is aggrieved and they say that the other party has actually not done their bit of the deliverable, then one is expected to walk into the fire. If the person comes out alive without being hurt, then which means he has not breached the contract. But if he gets burned, then which means he has breached the contract. Okay, so Agni had the ability to stand as a witness. Okay, and that is the reason everything was done in presence of Agni. So they forged their friendship in the presence of Agni. Hanuman insists on that. Not because he doubted Rama, but because, not that he doubted Sugriva either, but because Sugriva by nature is a Vanar, fairly unpredictable by character, he said it is better to forge it formally so that each of the party ends up delivering what has been promised. As they do this, okay, when Rama and Sugriva have forged their friendship, 3 people apparently have their left eye twitch. Okay, this is a part of the Shakuna Shastra where people say if the left eye twitches for a male, which means there is something that is bad that is going to come ahead. If a left eye twitches for a woman, for a female, which means something good is going to come. Okay, similarly it's the opposite. If the right eye twitches for a male, something good is going to come, and if the right eye twitches for a female, something bad is going to come. Kamba Ramayana, which is the Ramayana in Tamil, he apparently says the moment Rama and Sugriva get into a bond of friendship, there are 3 people whose left eye twitched. One is Sita herself, right? So why? Because good things are now going to happen, right? So for a lady, when it is the left eye twitching, which means good things are going to happen. The second is Ravana. For him it is the beginning of the end, okay? And the third person is Vali. Because of the friendship of these 2 people, who is the next person? The first person now who is in line to the guillotine is now going to be Vali, right? So there are 3 people whose left eye twitch. Valmiki apparently has gone in detail in calling the colors of these people also, as to what is the color of their eyes. Okay, so he says, how does Sita's eye look? They look like a bright lotus. Vali's apparently is like a sparkling like a gold, and Ravana is spewing fire, bloodshot, red. You know, that is how his eyes are, and each of the left eye twitches. So, which means for 2 people it's the beginning of the end, and for Sita it's the beginning of the good thing that is going to happen now. Now Sugriva is sitting, but he's a little doubtful. So Rama asks him, what is it that is bothering you now that we've befriended? Now I have also promised that it is me going to be the first person who is going to deliver on my promise, and only then, once I have delivered, it is your duty to deliver. So what is it that's bothering you? So he's saying, Rama, everything is okay, but I don't know whether you really know how strong Vali is. So he actually is doubting Rama's capability to deliver, okay? Because he's not seen Rama in action, right? He's not seen Rama kill 14,000 people in split second, right? But he's seen Vali. Vali is very powerful and he is somebody who cannot be defeated in a duel at all. That powerful of Vanar he is. So because he's seen Vali and he's not seen Ram, he is worried whether Rama can really be able to deliver and kill Vali. So Rama realizes that, this is what happens, right? When a central party gets into an alliance with a regional party, it is a regional party who demands a lot of seats, because to get electoral seats in a state, it is their power, that is their help that is required, right? So it is a similar situation. Rama is an emperor's son, right? And here there is Sugriva who is doubting his ability to deliver on his promise. But you can't do anything. You'll have to anyway ensure that his fears are assuaged. So Rama says, okay, you ask me, what is it that you want me to do? So Sugriva says, it seems Vali had the ability to wield a bow, wield an arrow. It used to have so much power that it can pierce 7 trees in a line. Okay, once you send it, if you send an arrow, it will go and pierce 1 tree, right? That's the power one can have. He had the ability to send an arrow which can pierce 7 trees in line and cross the other side. They said, okay, show me a set of trees which are in line. So he shows in the nearby forest, there are 7 trees in line. Rama very casually sends an arrow. It not only pierces all the 7 trees, but you know what happens with Rama's arrows, right? It comes back to the quiver, because he only works with single arrow. So it again comes back to his quiver. That's the quiver which Agastya Rishi has given. So it pierces all 7 and then again comes and sits into his quiver. He's saying, are you satisfied now? No, yes, I'm very happy. Piercing 7 trees in a single shot is next to impossibility, and you've done. But can I ask you one more favor? This is with bow and arrow. What if there is a duel with physical strength? There is something that I would want you to test with. So Rama says, okay, test me in that also. So they go to an ashram which is near Matanga Muni ashram. There the carcass of Dundubi, if you remember, Dundubi was hurled and thrown. It comes and falls near where Matanga Rishi is doing his penance, right? That now is reduced to bones. It's just now a heap of bones. It's just carcass. There is no more flesh in it. He says, Vali had the ability to throw by his hand. You might just kick it, let it go just a few feet, there also is okay. I would know that you are strong enough. Rama goes and with his toe, one single toe of his left foot, he just does this with his leg. He just flicks it like this. That whole heap of bones, it seems, goes 10 yojanas. Each yojana is about 100 kilometers. It goes 10 yojanas away. So Sugriva is all happy. Okay, now I'm in safe hands. Okay, I don't have any problem. Rama is somebody who can protect me. So that whole doubt that Rama might not be able to protect is now out of his mind, and now is happy that Rama can protect him. So now Sugriva decides as to we need to plan it out. How do you ensure that you end up killing Vali? So Sugriva comes out of a plan. He's saying, I will go and challenge him for a duel. Okay? I will go to Kishkinda, I will challenge him for a duel. Once he's out, we both are fighting. Rama, you come from your hiding and kill him. Rama says, okay, we will do this. So Sugriva now goes to Kishkinda and is all shouting, Vali, you coward brother, you drove me out of the kingdom without giving me justice. I have come back to take revenge and I have come to kill you. Vali is sleeping. He's sleeping aramse in his bedroom with his wife, drinking, half intoxicated. And suddenly he hears Sugriva shout. He's all astonished as to what has happened to this guy. This guy had run away for his life and suddenly he's now come back calling for a duel. Anybody calling Vali for a duel, he won't think much. He generally jumps into it. So he gets up, catches hold of his mace. At that particular point of time, Tara, his wife, I've told you, right? Tara is an extremely wise lady. She stops him. She says, this guy who was so afraid of his life and wouldn't have even stood a chance of winning a duel with you, has now come back and calling you for a duel. That is one, which is a very strange thing that is happening, which means there is something that has happened on his side, which is giving him this strength. Second, my spies. So she was actually a counsel. She was actually a minister with Vali. So she's saying, my spies come and tell me that he has befriended Ayodhya's princes, Rama and Lakshmana, which means Rama and Lakshmana have ensured that they are going to stand by him. So there seems to be something amiss. Okay, there's going to be some problem, which means there is Rama who is going to protect Sugriva. So Vali, don't go out right away. Let us see what is the issue. Let us analyze it and then we'll take our step. Vali is in no mood to listen. He says, forget all this. He goes on to a level. He says, I don't worry about Rama because I have faith in him. Rama also has younger brothers and he is known to be a Dharmavan. He is known to be a Purushottama. He is known to stick by rules. He will not do anything wrong. That is what Vali says. Okay, and gets into a fight with Sugriva. There is a huge battle that happens between Sugriva and Vali. Now Rama is hiding behind the trees and he starts watching and he sees there are two very similar looking people fighting. Vali and Sugriva are actually Bimba Pratibimba, which means they are absolute reflection of each other. So Rama is not able to make out as to who's Vali and who's Sugriva. And this is like a supari, right? You have to kill another person. Now he ends up killing the wrong person, he'll be in soup. And he doesn't want to take that chance. So he stops, he doesn't do anything, he just waits. After a while, Sugriva is getting beaten black and blue. There is no match. Vali and Sugriva, there was no match at all. First of all, Vali is anyway powerful. Secondly, half of Sugriva's strength is got shifted to Vali because of the boon that he has. So Vali is struggling, Sugriva is really struggling to beat him. So what happens is, Sugriva falls and then starts running out. So he runs away, he comes back to his place and then he's all black and blue, swollen all from all sides and he's crying, Rama, why didn't you kill him? Didn't you see I was getting beaten up? So Rama says, I'm so sorry, I could see that one of you were getting beaten up, but I couldn't make up my mind because I wasn't sure whether you beating Vali or Vali is beating you. Of course, I could imagine that it was Vali beating you, but I didn't want to take a chance because had I done this mistake, then what if you were having a upper hand and you were actually beating Vali for a change? So I didn't want to take a chance. So he said, okay, now tomorrow again I will do the same thing, but tomorrow please don't miss. So what they do is in the next day, they wear a garland. Okay, Sugriva wears a garland. And they say, okay, now I know the person wearing garland is Sugriva and the person without a garland is Vali. So he knows whom to kill. So again they get into a battle and then this time there is a moment which comes where Sugriva has fallen down and Vali is about to put his mace on his chest. He is about to hit the mace on his chest. Rama slightly comes out from the hiding from behind the tree, aims an arrow and sends it. Rama's arrow, 1, it never misses target, and 2, it's always fatal, right? Straight goes and pierces Vali's heart, and Vali falls with a thud and a loud shout. He says, ah, and he falls down. Sugriva gets up. Now, Vali, as he has fallen down, he sees whose arrow it is. So he recognizes that this has got Rama's insignia, which means it's got a sign which says it belongs to Rama. And he turns his head and he sees Rama coming out of the hiding. Now Rama, as he's coming out of the hiding, Rama, Lakshmana, Jambavan, Nala, Neela, Hanuman, all of them, they all are hiding, right? They all come out. Rama, as he approaches Vali, he comes there with a slight smile. Okay? No, Rama is not somebody who will smile when somebody is dying. 1. 2, not somebody who will smile when he has killed somebody himself. Right? But he comes with a very slight smile and he stands by Vali's side. Now, I will try and cover. So this is what has actually happened in terms of the killing. Right? This is a story where Vali has now got killed. Vali is now hurt fatally and now is going to ask a few questions to Rama. Right? And rightfully so. The first question that he asks him, he's saying, you are a Purushottama. Okay, you are the best amongst men, and that is what I have heard of you, Rama. You are the best son, the best husband, the best brother, the best friend, the best enemy that anybody can ask for. And of all the persons you were hiding and you killed me. He's saying 1. 2, what is the authority under which you are now killing me? Who's given the authority to you that you can kill me? What mistake have I done? I haven't even met you all my life. You haven't met me all my life. What wrong have I done to you that you thought killing me is appropriate? Right? And he goes on. He says, Rama, it seems like the troubles that you have faced in life, you got thrown out from your throne. You didn't get your kingdom. You had to spend 14 years in the forest. You lost your wife that seems to have made you mad. You've lost your sense of judgment. It seems to have clouded your sense of judgment, and hence maybe you have done this adharma. He goes one level ahead. He says, probably because now Sita is not there with you, you have started doing adharma. Till such time Sita was there with you, she stopped you from doing adharma. But now that Sita also has gone, you completely lost it, right? And you have done this adharma of killing a person from hiding. And this is not that is expected out of you at all. And he's crying and he's shouting at Rama. And as he sees Rama smile slightly, he is saying, Rama, what is this audacity and ego that you have? That you are smiling on me, on my predicament. Such is your audacity and ego that you possess, is what Vali asks. Now if we stop story here, we will feel that Rama has done a grave mistake, and Vali, the questions that Vali is asking is all right. What we as listeners of Ramayana, or what we as people who have read Ramayana do is, over a period of time there is a lot of dilution that happens to the story. So one part of the story gets narrated, while the other part doesn't get narrated. And this happens in a lot of stories. Okay, this happens with Karna, this happens with the Yuddha that Karna and Arjuna had, okay? Or places where Bhishma was killed, or where Drona was killed in Mahabharata, where there is a slight amount of adharma that kind of peaks in the manner in which they got killed. But it's important for us to know the entire story before we make any judgment, right? One, these stories are truth, right? They happened at some point of time. So now what I try and do is, I will try and give you an analysis of what Rama responded, which is what is important to hear, right? We've now heard Vali speak. We also need to know as to why Rama did what he did. So what Rama did and the way he explained has been covered in all Ramayanas, including Valmiki and Kamba Ramayana and Eknathi Ramayana also, it has been covered. So I'll try and cover it in a particular logical manner. Can only make an attempt, right? I am fairly an amateur. I can only make an attempt to, and I am not justifying. Rama's act can never be justified. He never makes a mistake for me to really justify. And who am I to justify, right? But what I am trying to go and do is I am trying to explain the logic behind this particular type of killing, because this, if you all recollect, at some point of time when people show us a finger on Rama, they will generally talk of the manner in which Vali got killed. We call Rama to be a Maryada Purushottam, but he killed Vali like this, hiding, right? So that's a black spot, is what generally we kind of allude towards. But is it the truth? So let me try and address that. So a few questions that Vali asks, okay? So Vali asks, he said, who gave you the authority to kill me? Why did you kill me? Why? What is the punishment that you are giving me? That death is the only punishment for my sin. What is the sin that I have done, and what is the sin that I have done to you? Why is it you should kill me? And third, why is it I was killed in the manner in which I was killed, which is from hiding behind? Vali has spent himself, he has spoken all. Rama now says, have you spent yourself? Can I now speak? If you are done with all your shouting and asking questions, can I now speak? Vali says, yes, speak. And then Rama starts off. Rama says, first, you asked me about my authority, right? My authority to met out a judgment, my authority to come back and give a judgment, whether I am authorized to do so. So he's saying, do you recognize what Koshala Rajya is? So I'm like, yes, I know what Koshala Rajya is. Koshala Rajya is the main kingdom of which capital city is Ayodhya. Okay? So the Suryavanshis are ruling the Koshala Rajya. A good part of this, not this country, a good part of this earth belongs to them. Okay? Out of which Kishkinda also is a part. So what do big kings do? Kings do basically, big kings, emperors. What they do? They give small parts out for smaller rulers to rule in the manner in which they find befitting within the overall framework. So it's like a nation, right? You have India as a country, right? And then you have states. Each state has certain powers to carry on the administration of those particular states. Then you have some cities. Each city has got an administrative power to carry on those activities. But then they are supposed to follow the broad rules that has been set at a national level. They can't come back saying that I will not follow the national rule. They cannot come back saying that I don't recognize Modi. They can't do that. right? Modi happens to be the Prime Minister for the nation, right? Chief Minister of a state can carry out activities that are pertaining to his state. So similarly, it is we who gave you the kingdom to rule on our behalf and to rule it justly, to rule it properly, to rule it as per the rules that we have set for our subjects. Vali says yes, accepted. Secondly, he says Bharata continues to be the ruler. He is the reigning emperor, right? And Bharata himself has named me as a soldier when I did Bharat Milap. So when Bharat Milap happens, Bharata requests Rama saying that now that you are going to be in the forest, you will be in the dens of the forest dealing with demons. Rama, please represent the nation, please represent the running government to mete out justice, to ensure that there is justice, the administration is proper. One of the reasons why he takes up arms against the demons and protects the Rishi on his own. The demons are not attacking him. If you remember this story also I had covered. Sita asks him as to why are you fighting the demons? These demons are not troubled us at all. He says, no, I cannot wait them to trouble us. They are troubling the subjects of Ayodhya, of Koshala Rajya. It is my duty to protect them as a representative of the kingdom. So here I am as a representative of the kingdom and I have been told that there are issues in this kingdom. Okay, so he says, I am a soldier and a rightful soldier of Koshala Rajya and hence I have the authority. So Vali says, okay, authority has been established. So a person as Rama can and has the ability and is authorized to issue a judgment and carry out that judgment. Rama gets the authority. He is now coming to what are the mistakes Vali has done. So Vali has now talk about the mistakes that I have done which befits being killed. He is saying, what is it that I have done so grave in terms of sin that I should get killed while meting out the judgment. So he says, when I came here, these are the things that I came to know Vali. He said, first, Sugriva was driven out of the kingdom and he was unjustly driven out of the kingdom. Okay? Problems between brothers is not my problem. It can be. There can be brothers who are having a problem with their kingdom. That is not my issue at all. But when a person gets thrown out of his kingdom, there has to be enough appeal. There has to be a process of appealing. There has to be a process of meting out the justice. There has to be a process of hearing that other person out. You did not hear to Sugriva at all and you threw him out. One. Two, when you threw out Sugriva, what you also did is you kept his wife arrested, and you not only arrested her, you made her your own wife. Okay? He said, which is a huge sin. Just as elder brother's wife is mother equivalent, younger brother's wife is daughter equivalent. You should have treated her as a daughter. You ended up marrying her. You ended up treating her as a wife. And that is a mistake. That is something that goes against Koshala Rajya's rules. Right? You have done adharma. That is one. Two, we had given you to rule the entire Kishkinda in a just manner. But what you have ended up doing is you have become an oppressor. You have become what they call in Hindi as Atin Tahi. Okay, you become an oppressive ruler. There is no rule of justice at all. People, the only rule that works in Kishkinda now is the rule of might. Might is right. That person who's got power is a person who's close to you, and that is the only rule that is working. People are actually unhappy in your rule and they do not want you as a king. You do not listen to any of your ministers, any of the counsels that they give you. You do not listen to any of them. You just do whatever you think is right. And that is not befitting a king who is supposed to rule kingdom properly. Now comes the third. So then he says, what is the punishment for being an oppressor? He asks Vali. Vali says, death is the punishment for being an oppressor. So he says, okay. Now I'll give you one more sin that you did. You know that Ravana flew his plane on your airspace and you saw and you allowed Rama to use your airspace and did not come to the help of a woman in distress. Now, if you are a part of the Koshala Rajya, it is your duty as a king to ensure that every person who's there on your land is taken care of. As a duty, as a king, it should have been your duty to protect that lady in distress. It was my wife is incidental. Any lady in distress, you should have helped. The reason you did not help is because you have befriended Ravana. Right? you have a secret pact with Ravana saying that you do what you want, I will not look into your matters. I will do what I want, you don't look into my matters. This, in spite of being a part of the Koshala Rajya, you have had a secret pact with an enemy. What do you call this? He says Deshadroha. And what is the punishment for Deshadroha? Deshadroha is enemy of state. Even today, if you are an enemy of, declared as an enemy of state, the only punishment for sedition, enemy of state, is death. Right? Why? Because anybody who goes and conspire against your nation, which means your integrity is completely under cloud. Right? You are supposed to be protecting the subjects and you've gone against it. That's your basic dharma and you've gone against it. A person in a position of power doesn't do what is expected out of him, that becomes a problem. And you've gone ahead colluding with an enemy. Ravana is the person who's taken away my wife, and you actually allowed him to use your airspace and not even opposed him. Vali, when he was crying, he says, one of the things that he says is, Rama, what a stupid person you are that you had to befriend Sugriva to get your wife from Ravana. You should have just straight come to me. Ravana is like a 10-headed insect for me. I would have crushed him on my left hand. Vali is that powerful. And now answering, Rama says, how can I trust you? You are the person who actually colluded with Ravana. Right? If I had come to you directly, there was more likely chance that probably you would have stabbed me at the back. You would have colluded with Ravana than with me. Right? So he's saying there's no way I could have anyway come to you. These are the reasons why death was the only punishment that I could have meted out for you. Vali accepts both his authority and the fact that death was the only punishment. And he actually goes on to say sorry. He says, yes, unfortunate that I did so many mistakes, and Rama, I am so sad, I am so sorrowful that I didn't meet you beforehand. I could have met you a few years before. I could have got some training in dharma. This is what Vali actually says in Valmiki Ramayana. So two things got established. One is the authority of Rama to kill. Two, the fact that death was the punishment to be meted out to Vali. Now coming to the question as to why Rama hid behind and killed. So one of the things that Vali says, when he says, when Rama says you kept Ruma as your wife instead of treating her as your daughter, Vali reverts back. He's saying, I was following an animal dharma. So technically I am an animal. Okay? I am not a Purusha. I am an animal. And amongst animals, this is a common thing that one does. This is what is Vali's logic to oppose as to why Ruma was to become his wife. Now Rama gets back to him. He's saying, if you consider yourself as an animal, okay, so those days hunting was a part of the allowed dharma. Okay, so this is something that I have covered right at the beginning. Okay, Rajas have a lot of wives. Okay, which is not allowed today. Or hunting is a sport that can be done. Okay, so these fall under what I call as Kala Desha Niyam, which means that particular time, that particular nation had those rules. Sitting today, we cannot question those rules. So, for example, it's like this. In India or in most of the countries, ladies can drive, right? But in Saudi, ladies can't drive. You might have an international license, you might have driven all over the world, but you go to Saudi, you can't drive. Okay? Why? Because that is a rule of that nation. You can keep asking questions as to whether you can have such a rule, you cannot have such a rule. The fact remains there is a rule, and as far as the rule continues to remain there, you will not be able to drive. Today probably the rules have changed, which is a different thing. But the fact remains that as recent as maybe a few months ago, a lady could not have driven in Saudi Arabia. Okay? Or for that matter, India, betting is not allowed. US, betting and gambling is probably is illegalized, right? Where in India it is still an illegal activity. So not following here doesn't mean that you can't follow somewhere else. In US or in other countries, it is followed, it's allowed, it's legally allowed. Similarly, hunting was a part of a Rajadharma. And when you hunt an animal, okay, there are shastras which say which animals can be hunted. Okay, there are rules around that as well. And what do you do with the animals that you have hunted? Also, there are rules around that. It's not that you can go and randomly kill anything that comes in front of you. So, Rama asks, because hunting is allowed and you are an animal, how do I hunt an animal? Right? How do you hunt an animal? You don't go and tell a tiger that take a sword and start fighting with me. I'm going to fight with you, and if I win, I will take you as my prize. You don't do that, right? What do? You hide and then attack, right? You don't even come in front of an animal when you are hunting. Hunting requires you to be deceitful. It is a basic rule for hunting, right? Why? Because these animals are extremely tuned to the slightest change in their surroundings. You have to be careful, you have to be hiding either on in the branches or behind a tree, and then be carefully, deceitfully attack the animal. So he's saying, because you call yourself an animal, what is wrong in me hiding behind a tree and killing you because I've just hunted? This is one of the logics. The second logic which Rama comes to, he's saying, why do you even blame me for the manner in which you got killed? Me killing you and you dying is something that we've accepted as a logic, right? I can kill you because you've done something wrong, I have the authority, and for you to die, death as a penalty is because of the sins that you've done. There is no doubt on that. The manner in which you got killed is not something that I chose anyway. It was Vali's choice. This is something that we covered in the earlier sessions. How? Because Vali had chosen with Brahma that any person standing in my presence, his half of his strength will become mine. Which means, what is the corollary for this? Which means, the person standing in front of him can never kill. So who can kill? If he has to be killed, who can kill him? Only by a person who is hiding away from him can kill him. So it was his own choice. Vali chose to be killed. He chose something, he didn't know the side effect of the choice. So we take medicines, right? We take crocin, we take Dolo or whatever, No, it helps you from fever, it helps you from pain, it helps you on inflammation. But you have excessive Dolo, it will start affecting your kidney, right? Side effect for everything. You ask for something, it is your choice. You took crocin. You take excessive crocin, your kidney is going to get affected, right? So you chose, Vali chose to be killed in a particular manner. He himself, by his choice, the corollary to is the side effect is that he will be killed by a person behind him. So he's saying, it is not even my choice, Vali. Why do you even blame me? It is your choice. You chose that I should be killing, the person killing you would be standing behind you. These are the two reasons that Rama gives. Vali accepts both these reasons. In Ramayana, it is there. Okay, we stop at the first level where Vali asks question. We do not come to the later part where Vali accepts the authority. He accepts the fact that death was his punishment. He also accepts the fact that the manner in which Rama killed had nothing wrong to do at all. He actually goes on to say this. Yes, Rama, I accept that I did mistakes, and I also understand why you killed the manner in which you killed me. I will go a step further, okay? And this is just for us to understand the logic, nothing to do with anything else. So when you look at dispassionately, what is it that is actually happening here is, Vishnu has taken an avatara and is playing out a leela. It's a divine sport, right? So when you look at it from a bird's eye view, Rama is Narayana himself, okay, in action, and has got some duty to do. And he's got no supporting cast. Now over the supporting cast, Hanuman, Vali, Sugriva, Angad, all these people are supporting casts, right? Were supposed to support Rama in the Leela. Now imagine, okay, say for example there is a Mahabharata play that is going on, okay? We all are watching a play in a stage, okay? The characters who are playing Draupadi and Duryodhana, suppose, happen to be husband-wife in real life. Okay, just imagine this. The characters who are playing Duryodhana and Draupadi happen to be real life husband-wife. Now, if on screen, if on the stage, Duryodhana comes and tells Draupadi, as Duryodhana and Draupadi says, I love you, and Draupadi comes back saying, I love you too. Now, can you imagine how odd it looks? Right? So, what will a director do when he's standing backstage? He will first say, what are you doing, Draupadi? You are not his wife in this. You're Draupadi. You're not supposed to be saying I love you too. Right? She does it once, she does it thrice, she does it 4 times. So what will he do? He will secretly catch hold of Draupadi, get her backstage and remove her from the character. Right? She will basically have to have her replaced by somebody else. Right? Which is what God did. Vali went rogue. Vali's duty was to help Rama. He could have kept quiet, which was also acceptable. but he started becoming detrimental to the plot. He started befriending an enemy, he started not supporting the cause, he became a person who started causing problem to the entire cause for which Vishnu had taken avatar. So what Narayana in Rama's form did, he is just secretly, when a director picks out a character, he doesn't come on stage, he's behind the screen, he just picks out the character. Narayana just picked out the character and threw it out. I'll give you one more example. This is what directors do. So I don't know, we all might remember this very famous serial, Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi. You know, that was very famous, one of the first soap operas of Indian television. The initial days it was like real popular, everybody used to be glued. After Ramayana, Mahabharata, it was Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi. So there used to be these two characters, the central plot, you know, where you have this Tulsi Virani and this, what is the name? Mihir Virani. Okay? Now these two characters became extremely popular. This Mihir Virani actor, okay, is called as Amar Upadhyay, apparently started asking for a lot of more money. He said, my characters become famous, so you need to pay more money. Okay? So he started throwing, apparently, okay, this is all hear and say, okay, don't hold me to it, okay, I'm telling this in public forum, this is all hear and say. Those days the gossip magazines carried this. So that Amar Upadhyay, what he does is, he started asking more money and started throwing tantrums on the set. Now Ekta Kapoor, the director and producer, what she did is, she tried to manage with him, she couldn't. On the script, she just killed Mihir Virani. And she said, this character is no more required in that play. Okay? What she did, she didn't come in front of the screen at all. What she did, she just changed the script. She said, Mihir Virani is dead, Tulsi Devi has become a widow, and hence Amar Upadhyay, the person is not no more required. Right? This is what a director does. They will come, they will do whatever they have to do silently and then push off. They will not even come in the front. And this is what Rama did. He said, Vali as a character is becoming a pain in the neck. I need to silently remove him from the scene, which is what basically they have done. Now I'll come back to the larger theme. Having explained the logic, I'll come to the larger thing. And this is clearly for the children. Can Ram do anything wrong? I think we need to have utmost faith. For children, clearly Ram can never be wrong. Ram can never do anything wrong. And that is a firm belief we people need to have in us. This is critical. And this is where faith plays a role. We do hear a lot of news, lot of things that go against our belief. We need to try and, I'm not saying never ask questions. Need to ask questions. Our whole dharma is based on question answering. Arjuna asked questions to Krishna, we got Bhagavad Gita, right? Yudhishthira asked question to Bhishma, Vishnu Sahasranam. Uddhava asked question to Krishna, Uddhava Gita, right? All, the entire Puranas, entire 18 Puranas is basically a question answer session between the Guru and his disciple. It is a Guru Shishya Samvada, right? Asking questions is not wrong at all, and one should always ask questions. It is the manner in which you ask questions which is important. There has to be a tinge, or rather more than a tinge of reverence in the question that we ask. For example, if somebody was to come and tell me, you know, your father did this or your mother did this, what would be the first thing that will be in terms of my reaction? My mother did this, not possible. She's an extremely matured lady, somebody who doesn't lose her calm at all. She couldn't have done this at all. Was there something that caused it? Probably. Let me look at the reason. That is the approach. You know, when I say approach with a reverence, instead of doubting Rama, can Rama, that Maryada Purushottam, who is the best amongst humans, who never ever erred, never ever done any mistake, will he ever do a mistake and such a basic mistake of hiding from behind and killing, you know, it's such a basic mistake. Will Rama ever do such a kind of mistake? The first thing that should come in our mind is no, Rama could never have done this mistake. But he did it. He did hide and kill, right? Then what is the reason? So we need to find the reason behind for each action, why, what they did. And this is important. This questioning with reverence is very critical, and it is critical to hold our faith. We have thousands and lakhs of people on us who are there waiting to point a finger on the most ardent devote God for us, right? We need to have conviction enough to fight that, and we'll have conviction enough to fight that only when we know the answers ourselves, when we listen to the story completely. Will Rama ever do a mistake? No. But he did seem to have done a mistake, then why? then we need to search for an answer, and this is very critical for us to do. I have tried in my limited capabilities, tried to explain the background behind the Wali Vad and the manner in which it was done. There will always be questions that get asked, right? There are a couple of other acts of Rama also which generally get questioned. We'll try and cover them when we come there. We need to understand that we are talking of a God who's spotless, right? As white as one can be, right? The moment you see a small spot, that starts attracting your attention. I have got people who tell me that Rama did this. Why do we blame Ravana? Ravana is a Shiva Bhakta. Ravana never touched Sita at all. And trying eulogizing Ravana, which is so wrong. Ravana did bhakti, but we know what kind of bhakti he did, right? He did an Adhava bhakti. He did an Adhava Tamasika bhakti. He asked for things that was favoring him. Yes, he did bhakti. Yes, he did a bhakti of a kind where gods got pleased. But he all wanted only personal gains. It was not an Akarana bhakti. So his bhakti was Adhama. His bhakti was like what we do as bhakti. I want better marks, I want a better beautiful wife, I want a better car, I want jewelry, I want house. That is the kind of bhakti that Ravana ended up doing, right? One. The fact that he didn't touch Sita is not because he didn't want to. It is because his heads would have got exploded because he was under a curse, right? Had it been his own this thing, he would have gone far ahead, right? He would have done all horrible things with Sita. He didn't do because had he done, his head would have got bursted. That's the curse that he had. Ravana is nothing great. He's done all wrong things. So it's like a huge black screen and there's a white dots. He's learned, okay, a small white dot. He's a very strong person and did some bhakti, a small couple of other dots, right? There is no reason to be so proud about Ravana. Rama is completely white. Even the dark spots that we see is our perception about it. Because we do not know the entire story, we do not hear the entire story, or the entire story doesn't get shown to us because we do not read that much. We do not deep dive into it. And what I have told, all of this is not out of the fiction of mind. It is all a part of the Ramayana that is there. Valmiki Ramayana, Kamba Ramayana, Eknathi Ramayana actually speak of all the reasons that Rama speaks of. Vali himself comes back saying that yes, Rama, what you did was wrong and I do not hold any grudge at all against you. That Vali who was so angry and who spoke so bad about Rama gets convinced himself saying that yes, I did a mistake and I shouldn't have done. And what you did is nothing wrong at all. He comes back saying as the last thing, Rama, in spite of this, gives him a boon. He says, in the next Janma, when I will be born as a Krishna, you will become a hunter for you to experience of how one kills as a hunter. Right? Hiding. So that person, Vali, in next Janma becomes Jara, who becomes a hunter, and it is this hunter who ends up killing Krishna. To kill Krishna is only a nimitta, which means it is only a reason, right? Krishna goes and when he knows that he's about his avatar karya is over, he goes into a forest and he lies down with his leg in a particular direction. That Jara, the Vali's next avatara, he sees it from a distance, in a hiding he's seeing, and he feels that it is the nose, it's the nose of a deer. And he sends an arrow and it hits Krishna there. And Krishna hitting in the heel and he dying is all just a leela, right? I mean, there's nobody who can kill Krishna at all. But Krishna decided to end his avatara. But why he gave that power to Jara? Okay, why he gave that power to Vali is two reasons. One is for him to experience how hunters kill, because he had given that as a reason. Two, it was not as a papa vimochan. It is not because there are general people you will hear telling that because Rama did this sin, he offered that as the next Janma, saying, okay, now I killed you, you kill me in the next Janma. Rama didn't do any mistake for him to give that at all to Jara. Rama did that because Rama lived all his life in a manner which didn't raise the slightest of doubt on his character. Right? Nobody could point a finger saying that Rama, did you do mistake here? And now justify. Rama lived a life of that kind. In this particular instance, he fall into a place where Vali questioned him. Vali asked him. Vali doubted his dharma, and Rama had to justify. See, living a life without justification is the best, right? That is always the best, and that is how Rama lived all his life. Because Rama had to justify, Rama in his own eyes fell down and he says, because I did an act where I had to justify and you had to question me, I will give you a boon where you become Jara in the next birth and then you will kill me. This is the actual story which we need to know. I can only hope that I have tried my best and to give a logic behind this. And at the upfront, I had already told that this is not about convincing each other. For me, personally, Rama can never do anything wrong. But the reason why I deep dive into all of this is because to answer people who ask questions, right? For me, anyway, I'm beyond doubt. For me, Rama can never do anything wrong. He killed Vali in a manner which befitted him. Absolutely, that's the way it is for me. But nevertheless, questions get asked, and it is important for us to answer those questions, because you leave questions unanswered, they grow, right? And it is important for us to answer. That is the reason why I thought I'll spend some time, about half an hour's time, in actually explaining the background of Vali Vadha. Now what happens? Let me take the story ahead. Basically now Vali is completely wounded, and he is also understood that he is wounded for the right cause and he is now going to die. Tara comes to know that Vali has fallen and is fatally wounded and is going to die. She comes out crying, wailing. You know, she's pounding her chest and she's saying, Vali, I warned you that there is something amiss, right? And you never listened to me all your life. And you not listening to me has cost you your life now. And it is so sad. That is what Tara tells. She cries a lot. Now, Vali says this. Now there is a doubt, who will become the next king? Vali says, Sugriva, it is so unfortunate. We both could have lived a very happy life. My power and your compassion and your maturity, it could have been such a lethal combination. We could have ruled Kishkinda for all our lives to eternity, and we could have been a happy family. But unfortunately, because of my ego, unfortunately because of my power going into my head, I lost the wisdom. I didn't even listen to my wife when she was pointing out the mistakes that I did, and I had to get killed in this way, that you had to become the reason for my death. Sugriva also is crying. He is crying because, unfortunately, because of the situation, he had to end up killing his own brother. Right? That is what has actually happened. He says, now you become the king and you make Angada, my son, as a Yuvraj. Take him under your umbrage, train him properly with your compassion, train him properly to become a good king, so that after you, he ends up ruling well. Tara also accepts that as a verdict. Tara, I have told you, is a very smart lady. She's understood that her most powerful person, Vali, is on the deathbed. And the other side, Rama, the most powerful person on the earth, and Sugriva are on the other side. So she basically realizes that it is best to fall in line to what Vali is saying rather than oppose it. And she says, yes, I also agree to it. And Vali, basically Angada removes the arrow from his chest and the blood starts coming out completely and he dies. So this is Vali Vadha. What happens next is basically Sugriva now becomes the king of Kishkinda. Rama overlooks the entire the coronation. Rama doesn't enter the city. Okay, here again there are a lot of versions that people come out with, because Rama cannot enter a city. This is the rule that Kaikeyi told, is that you have to live like a Vanvasi, right? And he never ever entered any other city at all till such time 14 years got over. So he was always in the outskirts, but he said, yes, I have my full blessings that Sugriva should become the king. They do a very huge affair of his coronation. Sugriva becomes the king, Ruma becomes his princess, that's the Rani. Tara becomes his counsel. Vali actually tells Sugriva, he says, I have never listened to Tara, but you please don't do this mistake. Tara is a person who can see the future. Tara is that lady who is extremely wise. Her advices are extremely potent and something that one should always listen to. You please make her as the main minister and ensure that you always listen to her. And he takes a promise from Sugriva that he will always listen to Tara. Sugriva also promises that yes, I will always listen to Tara, and Tara becomes a minister. Hanuman, of course, is one of the most important ministers in Sugriva's darbar. What happens is, when all of this happens, rainy seasons start. Okay? Because rainy season starts, the entire nature is in its full bloom, right? And that is the beginning of what we call as Chaturmas, right? Chaturmas is basically the 4 months of human inactivity, because nature is in its full bloom. Those days we did not have tar road and concrete roads, all were mud paths, right? So traveling from one village to the other village used to be very difficult. Carrying on agricultural activity used to be very difficult. So people used to generally get confined into their homes. So this Chaturmas is basically human inaction phase. For us, God has gone to sleep. Okay? Kartika Ekadashi, Ashad Ekadashi, Deva Shayani Ekadashi. That is the time God is supposed to go to sleep. And then Prabodhani Ekadashi, which is Kartika Ekadashi, after 4 months, we wake up God. God going to sleep is just symbolic. What is happening is the nature now has come into action and humans go into a stage of inaction. So people will generally get confined to their homes. They will not come out. They will only be in the vicinity of their homes or their villages or their towns. And hence this is also the time when maximum number of festivals get celebrated. Right from your Narali Purnima to your Ganapati Chaturthi, your Gokulashtami, to your Dasara, Diwali, all of this will get celebrated during this 4 months because people do not have any other work. They are supposed to sit and pray to God, right? So when they are praying to God, they might as well celebrate festivals. So all bulk of our festivals will all fall into this 4 months of Chaturmas. So basically, it's a period of inaction. So Rama and Sugriva says, since it's a period of inaction, we will not get into any search as of now. We will wait for 4 months. So painfully, Rama also agrees, yes, there is no point in going out searching. What also happens is, a lot of insects, a lot of animals which are in hibernation, they will all come out in this period. So it becomes very difficult to travel. So 4 months, Rama is spending in the forest, in a cave, with utmost sorrow, right? That he cannot do anything. Sita is still there in captivity, right? But 4 months he is not able to do anything. So he is completely sorrowful, sitting with Lakshmana. Sugriva is now the king of Kishkinda and now slowly starts enjoying the pleasure of being a king, right? What we'll do is, we will break our story here today, and what we'll do is we'll catch up as to what happens to Sugriva, how he gets submerged in the power, okay, and he forgets his part of the promise, and then how Lakshmana comes and reminds him, and then how they do the search party. Kishkinda Kand will end the moment the search party begins, and then the most beautiful Parva will start, which is Sundara Kand. What I'll try to do is, a very little part of the story really remaining, but I'll try and cover that and expand that to cover the next session, so that I end up beginning Sundarkand from the week next to that. Okay, Sundarkand is supposed to be the most beautiful of Parvas in the segment in Ramayana. We will try and cover it as beautiful as possible within our limited capabilities. Yeah, and with that I end today's story. Is there anything that you would want to ask? Any question that you would want to ask? Let me know. Yes, Arjun. Hmm. He doesn't enter Ravana's city. He enters Lanka as a country. There is a small city which is Ravana's fortress, okay, which is above a particular hill. I'll come to that part of the story also. They are still outside the city. They need a battleground to fight, right? They can't enter the city and rampage it. They need a battleground to fight. So they are still outside the city and they fight the battle. No. Lanka is a whole country, okay, and a very small portion. So imagine Maharashtra as a state, and they enter Maharashtra and Sita is in Mumbai. So they have to cross over till they reach the outskirts of Mumbai and they wage a battle and they kill Ravana. Lanka is a huge country. Any other questions? हाँ, बोला काफी. हाँ. Oh. Oh, एक्चुअली ये पर्व है किष्किंधा कांड के एंड में. सो नेक्स्ट वीक, ये नेक्स्ट वीक आई विल कवर दिस, where Sugriva is all intoxicated and is forgotten is about his. Right. Both Tara and Hanuman both advise him that you have to now begin your part of the promise, and then they get reminded. So I will cover that part in the next week. So they start off their action. They'll start off their action, but Lakshmana doesn't know. Hence Lakshmana comes with anger. So it's a beautiful story. I will cover it in the next. Thanks. Thank you. Correct. Know the answer. Right. You are very right. Thank you. Any other questions any of you all have? Feel free. Otherwise, we can start off with. Yes, Devendra. No, not at all. Please go ahead. It's always a pleasure to answer. Right. So what happens is when Rama's arrow goes and pierces Vali, so Vali has been doing adharma without having the knowledge that he's been doing adharma. So what happens is, it's like pushing the envelope. So you do one mistake, nobody has caught you. You start doing the second mistake, nobody has caught you. You start doing the third mistake, nobody has caught you. So he's kind of pushing the envelope to a level where now he's crossed the boundaries beyond a particular limit. So he started doing, and the power has gone into his head. So for him, he has always been thinking that he's not done anything wrong. So the first question that he asks Rama is that what wrong that I have done that befits me of being killed? Because he is not even aware that he has done a mistake. It is Rama who tells him, these are the lists of mistakes that you have done. When Vali listens to that, then suddenly wisdom dawns on him. He says, oh my God, yes, I have done these things and I didn't even realize. I am so sad, Rama, that I didn't meet you beforehand. Had I met you a few years ago, at least I would have taken some training in dharma and I would have realized and stopped myself from doing a lot of other sins, which is what Vali says. And this is there in Valmiki Ramayana. So the problem with Vali is that he didn't even realize that he was doing a mistake, which is where the problem began. And hence Rama had to give the justification. Because Vali asks him the question that I have not done anything wrong, as to why do you think you should kill me? And then Rama had to give the justifications. So he got enough chance to kind of present himself. The problem is, he realizes that there were mistakes. As soon as Rama tells him, he realizes that there were mistakes. So there was no more justification required. I don't know whether I answered your question, Devendra. Great. Thank you. Thanks a lot. If anything else, otherwise we can start with Hanuman Chalisa. Yeah? Great. Thank you. Shri Guru Charana Saroj Raja Nijamana Mukura Sudhari Paranam Raghuvara Bimala Yashu Jodaya Kupalachari Buddhihina Tanu Janike Sumiro Pavana Kumar Bala Buddhi Vidya Dehu Mohe Harahu Klesha Vikar Jai Hanuman Jnana Guna Sagar Jai Kapi Satyu Loka Ujagar Ramaduta Tulita Balathama Anjani Putra Pavana Sutanama Mahabira Vikrama Bajarangi Kumati Nivara Sumati Ke Sangi Karana Viraja Subesa Kanana Kundala Kunchita Kesa Hata Baj aur Dvaja Viraje Kandhe Munja Janai Hun Saje Shankara Suvana Kesari Nandana Teja Pratapa Mahajagabandana Vidyavan Guni Ati Chatur Rama Kaj Karibeko Vatur Prabhu Charitra Sunibeko Rasiya Rama Lakhan Sita Man Basiya Sukshma Rupa Dhari Siyai Dikhava Vikata Rupa Dhari Lanka Jarava Bhima Rupa Dhari Asura Samhare Ramachandra Ke Kaj Samare Laye Sajivan Lakhan Jiyaye Shri Raghuvir Harshi Urlaye बहुत बढ़ाई तुम मम प्रिय भरत ही सम भाई सहस बदन तुमरो यश गावे, अस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे। सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा, नारद सारद सहित अहिसा। जम कुबेर दिक्पाल जहाते, कवि कोविद कहि सके कहाते। तुम उपकार सुग्रीव ही कीन्हा, राम मिलाए राजपद दीना। तुमरो मंत्र विभीषण माना, लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना। जुग सहस्र योजन पर भानु, लील्यो ताहि मधुर फल जानु। प्रभु मुद्रिका मेलि मुख माहि, जल दिलांग गए अचरज नाही। दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते, सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हारे तेते। राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे, होत न आज्ञा बिनु पैसारे। सब सुख लहै तुम्हारी सरना, तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना। आपन तेज समारो आपै, तीनों लोक हांकते कापै। भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे, महावीर जब नाम सुनावे। नासे रोग हरै सब पीड़ा, जपत निरंतर हनुमत बीरा। संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावे, मन क्रम वचन ध्यान जो लावे। सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा, तिनके काज सकल तुम साजा। और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे, सोई अमित जीवन फल पावे। चारों जुग परताप तुम्हारा, है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियारा। साधु संत के तुम रखवारे, असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे।
अष्ट सिद्धि नौ
निधि के दाता, असवर दीन जानकी माता। राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा, सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा। तुम्हारे भजन राम को पावे, जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे। अंत काल रघुवर पुर जाई, जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई। और देवता चित्तन धरहि, हनुमत से ही सर्व सुख करहि। संकट कटे मिटे सब पीड़ा, जो सुमिरै हनुमत बल बीरा। जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई, कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाई। ये शत बार पाठ कर कोई, छूट ही बंदी महासुख होई। जो यह पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा, होय सिद्धि साखी गौरीसा। तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा, की जय नाथ हृदय मह डेरा। पवन तनय संकट हरन, मंगल मूर्ति रूप। राम लखन सीता सहित, हृदय बसहु सुर भूप। सियावर रामचंद्र की
जय।
कि बोलो हनुमान की
जय।
धन्यवाद धन्यवाद।